the world. She says she's the GWOAT. Katie Taylor might have an argument against that, but nonetheless, she's definitely one of the best women fighters in the world. And yeah, it's a fantastic opportunity here for Emma Kozin.
A two-time Olympic gold medalist, now undefeated as a professional with 15 wins, 3 wins coming by way of knockout. She is the 5-weight world champion, the 2-division undisputed world champion, the #1 pound-for-pound female fighter in the world, the current WBO light heavyweight world champion.
And now, please welcome your WBA, WBC, and IBF World Middleweight Champion, Claressa Shields.
Please welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment we've all been waiting for.
She comes to the ring representing the Glamour team with a record of wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. Fighting out of and representing Sydney, Australia, WBA and WBC Women's Middleweight Champion of the World, Kaye Scott!
Claressa Shields has conquered almost everything boxing could put in front of her, but tonight she faces a challenge that has nothing to do with another division. It is about how much of the champion is left after dropping from heavyweight all the way back to 160 pounds. Across the ring stands Kaye Scott, the unified WBC and WBA middleweight champion, fighting on the biggest stage of her career. Shields wants another chapter in history. Scott wants to destroy the GWOAT narrative. And tonight, one mistake could change everything. Welcome back to Boxology Tonight. Championship Boxing returns to Atlanta for a fight built around legacy, risk, and unfinished business. Claressa Shields enters undefeated at 18-0 and as the most decorated woman in boxing, but for the first time in this matchup, she is the challenger. Kaye Scott owns the WBC and WBA middleweight titles and has already proven her toughness in back-to-back battles with Olivia Curry. Now she faces the biggest test of her career. Claressa Shields has spent years proving that greatness is not built on hype. It is built on discipline, intelligence, and the ability to solve every problem placed in front of her. The undefeated American enters this championship clash with an extraordinary Ursum, having become a 5-division world champion and an undisputed champion across 3 weight classes. She is returning to middleweight after competing at heavyweight, making the weight cut itself part of the story. The question is whether her legendary skill set remains just as dangerous at 160 pounds. Standing opposite Shields is Australia's Kaye Scott, a unified middleweight champion who has taken a very different road to the biggest opportunity of her career. Scott owns the WBA and WBC titles and arrives with a professional record of 5-1-1, having earned championship gold after a difficult series of fights with Olivia Curry. Their first meeting ended in a draw, but Scott returned in the rematch and outworked Curry to capture the belts. That resilience matters because against Shields, she cannot afford to mentally break when the pressure rises. Stylistically, this fight presents a fascinating contrast. Shields is not known for relying on one-punch knockout power. Her greatest weapons are speed, accuracy, combination, defensive awareness, and extraordinary ring IQ. She can switch between aggression and control without losing her structure. Scott, meanwhile, is the naturally bigger middleweight and has shown that she is comfortable fighting through difficult exchanges. Her recent championship run was built on toughness and work rate, but facing Shields demands another level of precision. Every wasted punch and every defensive mistake could give the American champion an opening. The biggest question may be what happens when Scott tries to turn this into a physical contest. Shields has already warned that she expects Scott to come forward and look for her strongest shots, while Shields intends to avoid unnecessary exchanges and use her superior boxing ability. That tactical battle could define the opening rounds. Scott will want to make Shields feel the weight difference and prevent her from settling into rhythm. Shields will want to create angles, land combinations, and force Scott to react instead of allowing the champion to dictate the pace. Imagine the opening bell. Scott takes the center of the ring. using her size and reach to make Shields work for every entry. Shields stays composed, touching her opponent with quick punches before stepping away from danger. The crowd reacts whenever the American champion lands a clean combination, but Scott refuses to retreat. Then comes the first serious exchange. Shields fires rapidly. Scott absorbs the attack, and suddenly both fighters are standing in the pocket. In slow motion, every movement matters. One missed punch, one counter, one step backward could completely change the momentum. As the middle rounds arrive, championship boxing becomes a battle of adjustments. Shields may begin attacking Scott's body to slow her movement and reduce the power behind her pressure. Scott could respond by cutting off the ring and forcing Shields to fight rather than escape. This is where experience becomes critical. Shields has competed against elite champions throughout her career and understands how to read patterns, while Scott has the advantage of fighting naturally at the middleweight limit. If Scott can make the weight difference matter, this fight becomes much closer than the record suggests. The later rounds could reveal the most important truth of all: whether Shields can maintain elite speed and output after dropping back to 160 pounds. She last fought at middleweight in 2023 before moving through higher divisions, and the return requires a significant physical adjustment. Scott is already established at this weight and will enter believing that the size advantage can become decisive, but Shields has built her career around adaptation. If her legs remain sharp and her combinations stay accurate deep into the fight, her technical superiority could begin overwhelming Scott's physical advantages. My prediction leans toward Claressa Shields by unanimous decision, but this is not a fight where Scott should be dismissed. Shields has the superior ASUM, experience, speed, and ring IQ, while Scott owns the natural middleweight advantage, championship confidence, and the toughness required to make every round difficult. A Shields stoppage is possible if her combinations accumulate enough damage, but a decision feels more realistic because Scott has never been stopped professionally. The upset scenario comes if Scott turns the contest into a physical war and makes Shields pay for the demanding weight cut. When the final bell rings, this fight could become another defining chapter in Claressa Shields' extraordinary career, or the night Kaye Scott shocks the boxing world by defeating one of the sport's most accomplished champions. Shields is chasing another championship achievement after moving down from heavyweight, while Scott is defending the title she fought through adversity to earn. That makes every round meaningful, every adjustment crucial, and every punch part of a much bigger story. Whoever wins, this will not simply be a title fight. It will be a test of skill, courage, endurance, and legacy. This isn't simply champion versus challenger, it is greatness versus opportunity. When the final bell rings, the story will be bigger than 2 world titles. If Shields wins, she adds another extraordinary chapter to a career already filled with historic achievements. If Scott wins, she doesn't just defeat Claressa Shields, she announces herself as one of the most dangerous champions in women's boxing. Shields has the speed, experience, and ring IQ. Scott has youthless determination, physical strength, and the confidence of a champion who has nothing to fear. Now tell us, does the GWOAT reclaim the throne? Or does Kaye Scott create the upset of her career? Drop your prediction in the comments. And if you want more cinematic fight breakdowns, championship level boxing analysis, and the biggest stories from inside the ring, make sure you subscribe to Boxology and turn on notifications. Because here, every fight has a story, and you never want to miss the next chapter.